I am Pops. Let's make this a little bit bigger. I am talking about Hawkman today. Let's scoot over a little bit and kind of give you some thoughts on good to read, must read, or don't read. Now, disclaimer territory. I'm not the biggest. Yeah, I know everything behind me is different. Hawkman fan and reader. So this was a lot of rereading and giving you some general perspectives and some general overviews. And one of the things about Hawkman we're going to get to is just this massive mythos that stretches. Basically, his first appearance is in a Flash #1 issue back in 1940, right? So, I mean, you're talking about, he didn't become in the Silver Age until 1961. So you have 20 years of just Golden Age stuff. And then Silver Age is in Brave and Bold, which is in 1961. And then he didn't get his own series for a couple more years, right? And then he kind of becomes part of Justice League and that kind of thing. So a long and storied history. And if I had to sort of give you a don't read, don't bother kind of situation, it's kind of going to have to go down the avenue of don't bother with some of the history. Like it's so convoluted. I actually thought about doing whole videos on just trying to parse some of this out, but it involves like so much work. I'm sure, guys, that I have it in me to even try to go down this out. I'm assuming that other people have already done videos that are going to be superior to mine. I mean, I'd be more than happy if you guys find one that's kind of out there that maybe I could comment on or do a breakdown of. That might be the easiest way to do this. Because this is crazy. Look at these photos. I used the one. This is across time and space, and you have like all of these different variations. You have timelines of the different groups. You have some of the key issues, which are fine, and it kind of pointed in things that maybe I should go and read, new things and old things. But it is really just quite crazy, the level of information. This is just a quick graph of from 1940 to 2011, some of the different versions of, regular Carter Hall, and then Qatar Hall, right? And then Qatar Hall 3, Qatar Hall 2, trying to merge them into one. It's like, yeah. So I'm going to have to, I may reach out. Like, this is one of the images that I couldn't get enough of. It's like, look at the different costume and change. Like, it happens all the time to a character that just, I mean, there are times, but we're talking about like every couple of years. We're not talking, so he started out with 8 years, and then it becomes 3, and then there's like a gap, and it becomes, retconned as Carter Hall. And then you have, let's see, that's 5 years, 3 years, 1 year, 2 years, 1 year, 2 years, before you finally get to 2001 through 2011, where at least he was 10 years the same before they changed him again. But again, then they changed him, radically changed him back to, it's not Carter Hall, like English language, it's Qatar Hall. I don't know. I'm probably not even saying it properly. I am not a massive fan of that. I'm just not. And I can just tell you that I'm sorry. Maybe the James Mealy's and some of the other folks that are sort of like a little more versed in some of this can give us some insight on what out of that it should be our next phase of exploration with this. My must read was pretty easy. My must read is actually that Hawkworld miniseries, right? So the Hawkworld miniseries for me was really kind of like my non-Super Friends generic Justice League sort of like introduction into Hawkman. Right now, I admit he's different, right? So he's more of alien cop. That's the picture on the far left, right? That Tim Truman did this miniseries. There's only 3 books in it. It is totally off-world, and it kind of ends with that. They're going to come to our world, but you really get into an incredibly rich, dynamic, interesting journey with kind of one villain and a couple twists. and this damaged individual and his motivations, and then you lead right into the series, which John Ostrander and Graham Nolan did. And I don't want to pass judgment on that because I hadn't reread it. Now, I did read that pretty often. I can't say I read it religiously or I've caught every issue. So I want to try to I thought about maybe doing a follow-up to this and maybe trying to analyze maybe the first year of that series or something like that, get into chunks of it because it does go on quite a bit. But I think that you would really enjoy the Hawkworld series. If you want to get a good dose of some of that, that would be a place to go. Definitely would recommend all that. Now, on the far right, I gave you an example. This is from the Black Adam Dark Age. Now, this is not New 52. This is 52, right? So this is before that. And you kind of have what the motivation was for the movie, right? So this is 2007. You have this, the fight is in issue number 3. That's what this book is. But this is the Peter Tomasi series. I mentioned it in my Black Adam recommendations as well. It's very hardcore series. It's violent, cannibalism, crazy stuff's going on. You could also back up to this and include the JSA stuff that leads into it. So you have JSA stuff, Dark Reign. You have, all of that leads into 52, and then this, and you sort of kind of get some really interesting elements that fit Black Adam. And I have to be honest, there's part of me that kind of wishes, and I know we're going to have, Superman shows up at the end of Black Adam. Did my Black Adam review. I don't know if I should put a link there or not. I liked Hawkman. I liked them fighting. I liked all of that. I didn't even mind the race swapping, really, other than the fact that they called him Carter Hall. I wish they just made a different incarnation of him, which would have made more sense. But I almost feel like the Dark Age would be a good step forward for Black Adam. Like, you would have to, there's issues there with it because of some of the pretext with Captain Marvel and why he can't just transform into Black Adam, and why there's issues with that and what his motivations are. But it was a good read. It's a fun read. But it is not like for kids. Like it is definitely hardcore stuff, because we're talking about like Dark Superman, basically, right? And this issue, so a major spoiler, but I think it's probably the best part of the issue for me, is sort of like this. It's like a Maverick joke, right? So, okay, do you remember, if you saw Top Gun Maverick, there's a scene where he has crashed the prototype plane, and they cut to a diner, and then he's completely disheveled. He walks in and asks for a glass of water. He chugs the water, and he asks where he is, and the little boy says Earth. And it was funny. It works, right? And in this, Hawkman versus Black Adam, of course, just pummels him at one point, rips a wing off. He lands on a car. He falls to Earth, lands on a car. His mask is disheveled and broken. He's got blood everywhere. And then he gets up and he just looks at the person and goes, "Can I use your phone?" And it really, really was a good moment because it was kind of unexpected. Anyway, so look, all right, here's my thing. I'm not the greatest person to take advice from. I will say I love Hawkworld, the miniseries. I revisited it, enjoyed it again. I really like the Black Adam miniseries. It's only 6 issues. The JSA Reign and some of that, it was a little convoluted and muddied, but I did like it. We're not into like weird, crazy stuff yet with this era. We're still way pre-crazy woke stuff. Not saying there aren't things that you have issues with. What I have not enjoyed is going back and reading or looking at some of the really old stuff with Hawkman. But again, mostly because I'm just not a big Hawkman fan, not because it's really that bad. It's just not my thing. So, and I will also say that I'm no fan of trying to, the comic world has become completely crazy in the last 10 plus years with the way they reboot things and change things. And when you factor in Hawkman has a history of this happening every couple years and stuff, that's less interesting for me to try to go back and make something of it. But I could be wrong. You guys may have a different take on things, and I love hearing what your take is. So I don't know if this was really what you're looking for, or giving you an answer. Hopefully it gives you something to go on. Hawkworld, by the way, the miniseries should be relatively economical to get, even if you get originals. They're not really like something that held up on value particularly well. The miniseries, the series that follows it is also relatively economical. You should be able to find that relatively good. I always recommend checking your local shops first and then going from there. Now, the Black Adam series on the far right, there are like variant covers of things. So you may see some things, and I covered this in the Black Adam video more, where variant covers and things like that have become exponentially more collectible. But for the most part, the series and the graphic novels, and the studio did re-release some of that stuff with like Dwayne Johnson on the front, which is obviously economical. It's going to be in retail markets and that kind of thing. So there you go. Let me leave you with some happiness. Go out there and have some fun. Hopefully this was useful. Tell me the characters you want me to do, or other suggestions or comments about Hawkman that you actually have. So thanks again for your time.
All I do is chill. My life is a thrill for